I think we can all agree the Championship is absolutely mental. I'll go ahead and say it, I reckon this season might be the best relegation battle the Championship has ever seen in terms of the points that I think it's going to take for teams to survive this season and just the sheer volume of sides that are actually involved in this relegation scrap right now. We rarely see something this competitive, but the Championship's brought it up this season, and in today's video we're going to be having a bit of a closer look into the bottom three. Obviously we had some games going on last night in the Championship, we've got more games going on tonight as well, with implications at the bottom. But I just wanted to start today's video by taking a look at the current league table and recognising how bonkers it truly is. As things stand, there's 2 points separating Sheffield Wednesday in 23rd with Plymouth up in 16th. And you know what, even going past that, I don't think you can fully afford to discount any side from this relegation battle up to around Watford maybe, and they're in 12th at the moment with 44 points. Based on points per game metrics based off the season so far, both Stoke and Sheffield Wednesday, who currently sit in the bottom three, are projected to pick up 49 points this season, and that's discounting the real upturn in form from Sheffield Wednesday lately. So I think it's fair to say that teams will have to hit at least 50 points, if not more than that, to go ahead and ensure survival this season. It's going to be a very high threshold for survival, and with the majority of teams having 10 games to play until the end of the season, it means a lot of teams involved in that relegation scrap, everyone up to Plymouth at least, will have to average 1 point per game or more between now and the end of the season, and that's a lot to ask when consistency has been quite few and far between for a lot of these sides. When looking into the form book of these sides at the bottom of the table, it immediately becomes clear why it's been so competitive at the bottom recently. So here is the Championship table since the start of 2024. It gives you an indication of who are the teams in form right now, and as you can see, Sheffield Wednesday currently 7th in the form table. They're playing and picking up points like a playoff outfit right now. Just a few months ago, I think the majority of us had written Sheffield Wednesday off, but the way Andy Rolls got them playing lately, the points they're accumulating, almost accumulating 2 points per game right now, it's been a phenomenal turnaround. The same for QPR, who are playing like a mid-table outfit right now. Huddersfield have seriously picked up their form of late. Swansea have started to get some results over the line. Millwall are 3 games unbeaten since Neil Harris returned to the club. For me right now, and looking at the form table, I'd say the most concern is probably over Blackburn Rovers. Other than Rotherham, they are currently on the longest winless run in the Championship. Since Eustace has come in, there have been a lot of draws there, and while that has somewhat steadied the ship, you know, under John Dole Thomason, they weren't a very draw-heavy side. They were very much a all-or-nothing sort of team. Draws aren't that helpful in the relegation battle right now, with the amount of teams that are picking up points on a regular basis and are winning matches. Blackburn, week upon week, keep dropping closer to that dreaded bottom three. I think what will be decisive for teams from now until the end of the season is those head-to-head matches. Blackburn's next game is up against Plymouth, and then at the back end of April they've got a huge game against Sheffield Wednesday as well. But one real concerning factor for Blackburn is the fact that they still have Ipswich, Southampton and Leicester to play this season. 3 really tough matches, and when results are needed all the time, those aren't the sort of games you want to be playing. A team that does fascinate me at the moment is Stoke City. A couple of weeks ago we did a bit of a deeper dive on Stoke and why the club has regressed so much in recent years, but in terms of on the pitch performances under Schumacher and since his arrival, they've averaged just over 1 point per game. Given the points Stoke need to make up on the teams above them, I'm not sure that's going to be enough for survival this season. I think they need to improve on the form they've already showcased under Schumacher. There have been some signs of life from them recently. It was a big win over Middlesbrough at the weekend, and I certainly don't think they disgraced themselves in midweek against Leeds United either. But it is worth flagging up what is quite a difficult looking fixture list for Stoke. Their next 3 games all being against playoff challengers in Preston, Norwich and Hull City. On top of that, they've still got games against West Brom and Southampton to come as well, but the defining part of the season for Stoke I think will be in April, where they have 3 consecutive games against Swansea, Sheffield Wednesday and Plymouth. How Stoke come out of those head-to-head matches I think will define whether they survive this season or not. Draws aren't good enough for Stoke in those matches. I really think at least 2 of them need to be wins. There have been a bit of a rumbling going on with Steven Schumacher as well, relating to whether or not Stoke would actually make a change in that managerial role once again. Seems like he saved his job for the time being with performances over the last couple of matches, but still something to take into consideration. I wouldn't completely discount Stoke from making a late change, especially if they were to lose their next 3 or so matches, let's say. Over these past couple of months and in the relegation battle, the two teams I've been most impressed with I think have been QPR and Sheffield Wednesday, considering the state of affairs at both clubs for the first couple months of the season, with Ainsworth in at QPR and Xisco in at Sheffield Wednesday. The majority of us assumed that they were both dead and buried, but QPR with a run of 4 wins in their last 6 matches, Sheffield Wednesday even better than that, winning 5 of their last 6, have really made themselves competitive. And since those new managers have come in Danny Roll and Marti Cifuentes, they've both been operating like comfortable mid-table sides, which is some achievement. If they both carry on picking up points as they have done under their new bosses so far, I think you have to assume that each of them will skirt away from this relegation zone. With that being said, I think it would be very easy for either side to have a slight regression over these next few weeks, and suddenly they're right back in it. The reason I think it's so difficult to call this relegation battle this season is because so many of the sides are in good form right now. Even looking at Huddersfield, who have only won 8 matches all season, that's the fewest in the Championship other than Rotherham. They don't tend to lose many matches right now. You know, they've only lost 2 of their last 9 matches. I think the club have been more than vindicated in their decision to sack Darren Moore. I think there's been a real upturn in performances. Another massive game coming up for Huddersfield tonight as well, but based on their current form, it's difficult to see them dropping either. I think a couple of weeks ago, Millwall were a lot of people's picks for the bottom 3, given how they have been sinking like a stone, but there's been a real new manager bounce. With Harris returning to the club, 7 points from a possible 9 in their last 3 matches is a really solid record. I also still think I hold the opinion that Millwall have, in some cases, I think a far superior squad to a lot of the other sides in and around the relegation battle, and that doesn't always pay dividends. We have seen, you know, better sides than Millwall relegated in the past, but with a new manager at the helm now, who's got a lot more experience than Edwards previously, I think that really falls into their favour as well. I think Birmingham are worth discussing in this relegation battle as well. It's now 3 games without a win for Blues, albeit a solid point last night against Hull, and I would suggest there's a decent run of fixtures coming up for Blues where I think there's a real opportunity here to pull away if they can get some results over the line. Their next 4 games being against Millwall, Middlesbrough, Watford and QPR. On paper, compared to what a lot of relegation teams are coming up next, that's a fairly reasonable run of games. Another side I can't help but fear about at the moment is Plymouth Argyle. Compared to a lot of teams at the bottom of the Championship, they've not been in particularly great form recently, albeit we have flagged it up a few times. They have had a tough run of fixtures, but that defeat in midweek against Sheffield Wednesday really was a hammer blow to their survival hopes, and Plymouth actually have quite a few head-to-head matches with fellow relegation candidates between now and the end of the season that will be decisive in their survival chances. From now until the end of the campaign, Plymouth still have games to come against Blackburn, Rotherham, QPR, Stoke and Millwall. Their fate is very much in their own hands right now. What concerns me a little bit is the majority of those head-to-head games against relegation candidates for Plymouth are away games, and we all know their track record on the road this season hasn't been great. I do think a team who has a real chance to pull away over these next few weeks is Swansea. Looking at their remaining fixtures, 9 of their last 11 matches of this season are all against sides who are currently in the bottom half of the table. Now, playing sides below you is by no means a guarantee of picking up results. We've seen how many teams around the bottom have picked up their form of late. But the fact that Swansea only have an away game against Norwich as their only real promotion challenger that they play from now until the end of the season, I think really does fall in their favour. They've come through a really tough run of fixtures recently and have got back-to-back wins against Sunderland and Blackburn now. Things can quickly change in the Championship, but with a 4-point gap between them and the relegation zone, a game to play tonight against Watford, which I think is quite winnable, my concerns with them have been eased over recent weeks, I think it's fair to say. Then above Swansea as well, I don't think you can fully afford to discount the likes of Middlesbrough, Bristol City and Watford potentially being dragged into a relegation battle. None of those sides particularly on a good run of form right now, but with each of them having 44 points on the board, you'd think they'd only need a result or two to actually get them over the line in those final 10 or so matches. We've seen huge collapses in the Championship previously, and I'm not discounting it, but I would be surprised if any of them were to go down. There you have it, guys. That is the picture at the bottom of the Championship right now. Gut feeling for you. Who is going down? I think we can all agree it's going to be Rotherham, rock bottom of the table, but those final 2 spots really are up for grabs. If I had to call it on a gut feeling right now, honestly, maybe the 2 sides I'm most concerned about at the moment, I'm going to say Stoke and maybe Plymouth Argyle. I think with some big decisive games that are on the road, and with their away record not being particularly great so far, that does concern me. Blackburn obviously a massive worry as well, but I do think they've got players good enough to get them out of this hole. They do have a lot of goals in them as well. But even in me saying that, I'm not totally convinced on it. I welcome you guys in the comments down below and the debates we can have over this bottom 3. But other than that, that will wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you all in the next one.